Welcome, everyone. Welcome to today's quarantine time. We're happy that you all can join us. What we're going to ask you to do is, if you can find your chat box, we're going to ask that you type in the chat box who you are, where you're from, and I have a list here. Your current grade. These are all things that are going to be very helpful for us to know today as we present. We also do like to get an accurate list of who is with us today. So please go ahead. If you hover your mouse towards the bottom of your screen, you'll find a menu bar. That's where you'll find the chat box. So go ahead, open that up. And again, tell us your name, where you're from, and what school, well, actually what grade you go to. If you want to tell us your school, that'll be fun too. But we'd love to know everyone who's with us today. We're gonna take a moment just to give everybody time to come on in. We're expecting a fairly big crowd today. So just take this opportunity to type in the chat box your name, where you're from, your grade. You also might want to find the participant list, because later on when we get to our question and answer portion of today, you can either write a question in the chat box or you'll be able to raise your hand, and you get the raise your hand button if you open up the chat box. So I really love that everybody's been introducing themselves. I see we have Liam from Richmond, and Veronica's here from Burlington, Oren's joining us, and Timur's joining us. Irene, welcome. I know you. Susha's here, and I think I saw some others that typed in earlier. So we appreciate everybody telling us who you are, where you're from, what grade you're in. Lily's here also from Burlington, and Leslie from Williston. It's fantastic. What a great mix of people that are coming on in. Gonna just give it a couple more minutes. We got Ellie from Shelburne. Who else do we got here with us today? Lily's here from Essex. Some of you I know, some of you I don't, but I hope to get to know. I'm hoping by the end of today, you're gonna decide to do either one of my programs or one of the other programs. Be really fun. So as you guys are joining us, I'm gonna back up for a second. Just make sure you're in the right spot. Today is our quarantine time. Today we're talking about how to get involved in environmental change. We also have some really cool upcoming sessions next week. It's how to self-advocate for yourself. And then I am gonna push for all of you to come back on the 19th. We have the Lieutenant Governor coming. And what's really exciting about that is he just wants to chat with you. He wants to hear about what's on your mind? Like, what are the issues that you're facing today? What do you want him to know as one of our top leaders in the state? We're also looking for people who are willing to lead the conversation, talk, kind of drive some of the topics. So if that's something you might be interested in, you can email me that you have a topic in mind, that you have something you want to share with the Lieutenant Governor. So we'd love for you all to come back for that. We have some other cool ones coming up towards the end of the month and the beginning of June, which I'll talk about at the end of the program. So we want to jump into today. So again, if you haven't introduced yourself yet, please just let us know your first name, where you're from, and your grade. Myself and all of our presenters, we really want to know where you're all coming from, because this kind of helps us as we talk about what we're doing today. We also need to get an accurate participant list, so please make sure you put that information in the chat box. We thank you for that. If anybody needs closed captioning services today, you can see at the bottom of this slide the information. It also has been put in the chat box. You can just click on the link and that will bring you to the live captioner who is doing that for us today. So I just want to go over some Zoom protocols with you all. So we would like that you all are muted. We have set it up so that you're all muted. But again, during question and answer period, you will be able to raise your hand and we'll unmute you if you want to ask a question that way. We do have a chat box. You can share thoughts and questions in the chat box, but we are going to hold all questions until we go through the 4 program presentations today. It's going to be easier for us to manage your questions if we just get them in one chunk. So if you need to write your question down on paper first, we'll let you know when it's going to be time to put your questions in the chat box. So just know that. We ask that you be courteous and respectful today. All of us are here to learn something, share our work with you. So we're going to ask that if you have your video on, try to make sure that you're not creating any distractions for anyone. So don't make silly faces. Make sure there's nothing in the background that's distracting. If you're on an iPad or phone, try to just stay in one spot so you're not moving around. Part of the courteous and respectful is also using the chat box appropriately. Today is about engaging in the topic. So make sure the chat box is used just for that. So we ask that you stay engaged and participate fully because we got some really cool programs to share with you today. The programs that we're going to be sharing, we're going to do this in the order that you see it on the screen. We're going to start with Cultivating Pathways to Sustainability. Then you're going to hear about the Youth Environmental Summit, then the Youth Climate Leaders Academy, followed by the Teens Reaching Youth for the Environment, or Try for the Environment. Each program is going to present for about 7 to 9 minutes. So we're going to try to go through this, fairly quickly because we want to be able to get to your questions and answers. Because our ultimate goal today is to get you excited to want to do one or more of these programs. So we hope that you're going to ask questions to find out more information about how you can get involved in these programs. So that is our goal today. And with that, I am going to stop sharing. I'm going to turn it over to our first presenters. We have Lindsay Hallman and Jen Cirillo from Cultivating Pathways to Sustainability.
Hi everyone, my name is Lindsay Hallman. I'm the Executive Director of Up for Learning, and this is my partner.
Hi everybody, I'm Jen Cirillo and I work at Shelburne Farms. Nice to see you all today.
And so we want to share with you a program called Cultivating Pathways to Sustainability. But first, I just want to give a shout out to the PF family in Montgomery County, Maryland. I'm from Montgomery County, Maryland, and so I was very psyched to see that you're on the Zoom right now. I'm from Rockville, so just really made me feel really excited to see someone from Montgomery County, although I have been living in Vermont for about 20 years. So before we start, Lauren, is it possible to have our first poll question?
Yes, so let me launch that. So the poll is going to be launched. If you can't see it, write in the chat box, but otherwise the question is, have you heard of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals? If yes, answer yes. If no, answer no, either by poll or putting it in the chat box.
Great, looks like we are somewhat familiar. We're at about 50-50 here, so that's excellent. And then let's maybe try our second question.
Sure. The second question, have you ever participated in the Cultivating Pathways to Sustainability program? Yes or no?
Oh, I see someone learned about them in their economics class. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. So no, this is great. So you are in the right spot. Because Jen and I are really excited to share with you all a program that started in 2015 when actually the Sustainable Development Goals from the United Nations were launched. So in 2015, the United Nations set forth 17 goals, and the purpose of those really were to fight inequality and climate justice and eradicate poverty. And so those 17 goals kind of capture that in a big way. And in 2015, myself and Jen and a couple of friends and colleagues came together and said, well, what about if we had young people and their teachers come together to learn about the goals and then think about the goals as a framework for developing personalized project-based learning opportunities for their school year. So, Jen, do you want to add anything on to that?
No, that's great. That's so great. And Lindsay, I think it's the only other thing I might say is that, sustainability is such a big topic that the 17 Sustainable Development Goals cover a lot of content within that big concept of sustainability. And so you'll get to see more as we get to further into our slides about what they are for those of you that haven't seen them before. But if you can imagine it, it fits into the 17 Sustainable Development Goals.
Exactly. And so our hope was that young people and their adult partners would think about what are the needs of their community, whether it's their town, their region, their state, and then determine what goal was most applicable for their work and their project, and then engage community partners and other folks that are maybe beyond the walls of the school building in making change in their community. So not just learning about climate change or clean water or whatever it is, but actually making a change in their community by working with community partners and experts. So here's our vision. You can see that on the screen. And if you haven't seen the Sustainable Development Goals before, I just want to I'll go back in a second, Jen. Here are the 17 goals. So you can see that when you're thinking about what matters to you, there's really an entry point for everyone, because we all have different passions that light a fire within us. And by using the goals as a framework for both learning and action, we have found that our teams across the state have done some tremendous change work. One thing I should add is that these goals that were set forth in 2015, the hope is that they're realized by 2030. So we don't have a lot of time, and the time that we're in right now with COVID really offers a unique opportunity to examine these goals in a different way, and to think about some of the opportunities to engage with our community. Jen, do you want to talk about the setup?
Yeah, so like Lauren was saying, we'd love for those of you that are on the chat today to think about how you might be involved in one of these projects. And I actually think Cultivating Pathways works really well with some of the other ones, as you'll hear the other projects relate to the content of sustainability. So this could be a really great marriage of two things. What we sort of have as our essential elements of the Cultivating Pathways project, and what we've heard from youth that have participated, is that there's two gatherings in the fall and the spring, and that feels really essential for being part of and experiencing the energy of other youth coming together to solve problems, really big global problems, but at the local level. So those issues have been really essential. Taking action on those issues in your community, thinking about how it connects to your personalized learning or proficiency-based assessments or the flexible pathways for middle and high school students. And that's really our audience is middle and high school students. We've had hundreds of students and hundreds of projects over the past several years. And engaging in that planning process with youth and adults that leads to these year-long projects. So you kick off with us, with Lindsay and myself and others in the fall, and then over the course of the academic year, engage in projects. And I would say some are whole class projects, some are small teams, and some are even individual projects. So there's not a one-size-fit-all expectation. The expectation is that you engage in this inquiry around what matters to you, and then you come up with something that you feel like is really going to be able to address that in your community with your adult partner. So that's the other essential element, is how do we cultivate these authentic youth-adult partnerships? It isn't always necessarily with your teacher or a school leader. It might actually be a community partner who's working on solar project, or it could be a civic leader in your community. It could be a family member who's addressing some of these issues in their work or their volunteer work. So really the idea is partnerships. And the last goal of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals is partnerships. for change for all of the goals. And so we really take that 17th goal to heart and know that partnerships between youth and adults and community members and schools are really important for change.
Thanks, Jen. And also one piece just to also highlight is we always have, and I'm sorry if you already said this, Jen, we always have youth as keynoters, both in the fall and the spring. And those are young people who have done inspiring projects in their communities and want to share that with others. So it's a very much a youth-centered opportunity, but the partnership is essential so that, you know, so that young people have access to resources outside of their school building and vice versa. So let me continue our slideshow here. We always start with asking our teams, the middle and high school teams, to prioritize the goals. If you were to take the 17 sustainable development goals and prioritize them based on what is most important to you or your community, we start there because it offers a real entry into some incredibly interesting dialogue around what are the priorities of our communities, what are the strengths of our communities, and what are the opportunities for change. And it's really often evident that what I might prioritize as number one is probably very different from what Jen might prioritize for number one. So we all have our individual passions and interests that inform the work that we want to do to make change in our communities. And so we start with prioritizing on that first day in the fall together. And then that leads to action planning. And when our teams leave Shelburne Farms in the fall or wherever we gather, whether it's a virtual gathering, we're having our May gathering virtually on May 21st. They leave with an action plan or at least a question that they really want to explore deeply. And then throughout the year, we provide supports to their team around project-based learning, connections to the community, and so forth. Let me see, I think we would like to share with you a little video that gives you some insight into what this year-long piece looks like for our school. And this is highlighting the work of Burke Town School. And this will give you just a window into what it looks, sounds, and feels like. So hopefully the sound will work well for you if everyone's muted except myself.
So our day is really short, but it should just be kind of like this burst of inspiration to get you energized to make change in your community. What we want you to consider right now is what is the change you want to make in your school or local community and why?
They're reading and calling community partners and painting murals and digging bike trails and building beehives, and it's kind of all happening.
Most of us are really passionate about biking or building bike trails, and we build bike trails and bike jumps, and I thought that it'd be fun to build some at school.
We're making pretzel bites for the K through 4 classes at our school because on Fridays they don't have snacks.
We're focusing on the global goal of health and well-being, and we're focusing more on the health part of it, and we're talking about how our community doesn't have a lot of mental health awareness in it. So our project is we're going to paint murals around town.
I'm hoping that brings our community together more because we're also planning on having a race to kind of go around our murals and show them off. So I'm hoping that our community kind of just comes together and can talk to each other more.
We want the community garden to be accessible to everyone.
Our goal is to have different people responsible for it and take turns taking care of it and take what they want.
Yeah, we want it to be more of part of the communities itself.
I just want it to be sort of part of the school's culture, just to be normalized to have a beehive.
Educational.
Creative.
Exciting.
Important.
Entertaining. Crazy.
Unique.
And it makes people understand like the issues that are happening.
It's important for us to realize the importance of the earth and why we need to take care of it.
So that just gave you a little window into, that was just one team at one school, and you got to see they were building beehives, creating a community garden, building bike trails, helping out the riparian areas to restoring them for fish populations, and so many other things, good health and well-being. And that was just one school and one team. And so we've had the great opportunity to work with so many schools across Vermont and so many different teams who are doing amazing work. And we just listed some of those there for you all to take a peek at, including some of our Cultivating Pathways teams then go on and engage in TRI, which will be talked about today too, as part of a focus on education, quality education, and an environmental issue that they're interested in. So I know our time is up, and we just wanted to let you know that here's our contact information, and we will share this with Lauren to share with everyone.
Yeah, we'll send that out in an email afterwards.
Great.
So everyone can have all the context that they need.
Great. And then this little diagram here, or this little picture, actually is a link. And Jen and I recognize that right now during COVID-19 and our time learning during COVID, that this learning is even more important now than ever, you know, and what is your priority? We want you to think about which of those goals really is your priority right now. So we created a resource that will allow you to think about how to engage in a project related to the Sustainable Development Goals right now and in the future. So it's a resource for today, and it's a resource for 3 years from now. So we hope you'll reach out to us with any questions.
So remember, we're going to save questions until the end. So if you can unshare your screen, we're going to go to the next presentation because we want you guys to hear about all 4 programs before we launch into the Q&A portion. So, and actually, Allison, can you unmute Ellie for me? So I'm going to be talking about the Youth Environmental Summit, and I'm here today with one of a teen who has both attended the summit as well as presented at the summit. I'm going to talk to you first about it, but I want to build off what Lindsay and Jen talked about. So with the Cultivating Sustainable Pathways, you're talking about the UN goals. And what's really cool about these 4 programs we're going to be talking about today is they really complement one another. So you can go to Cultivating Sustainable Pathways, then come to the Youth Environmental Summit, which is a 1-day summit where we have anywhere from 200 to 400 6th through 12th graders come to share a day to really understand environmental responsibility, leadership, learning about different topics. We learn both from environmental experts as well as from one another. So it's this really amazing day that's filled with workshops. We do an exhibit scavenger hunt, and I'm going to talk about those a little bit more. And then Ellie's going to talk about her experience as a teen, having attended both as a participant and a presenter. So the really neat thing about the Youth Environmental Summit, it's held right at the end of October, beginning of November every year, and we do it at the Barrie Civic Center. So it's a nice big space because, as I just said, our numbers have been growing. So last year we were supposed to have almost 400 people there, but it ended up being the Halloween storm. So only about half the people could get there. I don't know if you all remember the Halloween storm that knocked out power and flooded, and roads were closed. So only about half of the people who signed up were actually able to get there. But we fill the day really is structured around these learning opportunities and workshops. And then at lunch, we do this really cool exhibitor scavenger hunt. So let me talk about the workshops for a minute. The workshops, you end up having 4 workshop sessions. And during each workshop session, you'll have 6 or 7 workshops that you can choose from, and you choose ahead of time. And so really right about this time of year, I start putting out what I call a request for proposals, where we try to get workshops lined up for the event that's going to happen this year. And we try to find a nice mix of workshops that cover a lot of different environmental topics. So if you look at this list, this is the list from last year. We had talking about waste, we talked about water, we talked about environmental careers, we had one on forest, citizen science, we had environmental leadership. You're going to hear about the Youth Climate Leaders Academy after me, and they did a workshop at Yes. We had some on animal testing and energy products, and it's really cool, the wide variety of things that you can come and learn about. And the reason why I say this is also connected to cultivating sustainable pathways is when you go to that, you might identify your UN goal that you want to work on, and then you can come to the Youth Environmental Summit and potentially learn more connected to that goal that you're working on and learn about projects that are already happening. So this is the next part of it. We do this exhibitor scavenger hunt. And I'm going to go ahead. This was our list of exhibitors last year. We usually have about 20 to 25 exhibitors. So again, like if you're looking for a project to do for cultivating sustainable pathways, chances are you can connect with an exhibitor at Yes to match up and do a project related to work that's already happening in Vermont. So at this exhibitor scavenger hunt, it really is this great way to network, share ideas, connect with one another. And it's really cool because it's in the main auditorium and during lunch. And when I say it's an exhibitor scavenger hunt, the cool thing about it is every exhibitor gives me a question that can be answered by visiting their table. So you have a sheet. And so if you're uncomfortable talking to someone, you have this question to go up to the table to try to learn about. And maybe that's all you do at that table. But maybe you start talking to the person there and realize, wow, that's really interesting. Like, I'm going to keep talking to this person. And you kind of keep moving around and you learn so much by doing this exhibitor scavenger hunt because we guide you with a question, but then you can learn so much more by visiting each table. And again, if you look at this list of exhibitors, it's really varied. Some are student groups, like we had 7th graders from Barrytown School share something they were doing at school. We had Audubon Vermont there. We had government agencies there sharing the work that they do. Governor's Institutes, which are another way to go learn. So it's a really nice mix of people there to help you connect to the work that's happening in Vermont, because we want to make sure that young people like yourselves are connected into the work that's already happening. And the best way to do that is to meet the people that do this for a living and connect into their work. So I already had said, I'm already starting now to ask for proposals for next year. The date is the October 30th. And I will tell you, we're living in this new world of COVID-19. I hope that it can be an in-person event, but I'll tell you, I already have a really cool way to make it virtual if that's what we have to do. So this thing is happening no matter what. Ellie, are you unmuted?
Yes.
All right. So Ellie, why don't you introduce yourself, where you go to school, and how you have been involved with the Youth Environmental Summit?
My name is Ellie Ramirez-Richter. I am a junior at CVU, and I used to go to Shelburne Community School. And when I was in 7th grade, we created an environmental club. And for 7th and 8th grade, our mentor took us to Yes for those 2 years. So I attended just as like a participant and learned about some really interesting things in the different workshops I did. And it's like a whole range of different things. I know I have some friends who made toothpaste, and I learned about like recycling at like the Coca-Cola companies and how that led to like Patagonia sweatshirts. And then I presented this year and last year in my new environmental club at CVU. And I think like why I wanted to present was because it was like having all different people from different schools was really interesting to learn how each school sort of takes their own approach to going towards solving like the different environmental issues that are going on. And I think that is one of the things that like drew me back after middle school, was just trying to connect with people from other schools. And my workshop last year was on like microplastics and like how that gets to our water and how that can cause a lot of issues. It wasn't as hands-on as the other ones, just because I wasn't as professional as some of the other presenters. But this year, my friend and I did like an open discussion. So basically, we just tried to get people from different schools to think of like a couple different topics that they wanted to talk about and try to exchange ideas and just get an idea of what other schools are doing so we can learn more from each other. And I think this whole conference is like a really great way to do that because there's so many different people and so many different ideas. And also it was really fun. Like I haven't been able to stay for the whole thing the years I presented because of just my other classes at school. But the times I just went as like a participant was like a really fun day, and the scavenger hunt is really fun. And I
Awesome.
know when I did it, they like raffled off prizes and stuff too.
Yeah, we do raffle off prizes. Ellie, we are actually out of time. I loved everything you just shared, and I'm going to follow that up by saying when we send out an email after this session, we have 2 videos that show the Youth Environmental Summit for 2 different years, and it's going to showcase exactly what Ellie was saying. Like, it's a really vibrant, alive day, lots of great energy. So I'm going to encourage you all to watch the videos that I send. They're about 5 or 6 minutes each. And you'll hear from some other teens that presented and attended, and it will give you a really good idea of the day. I am going to be, need to stop myself because we are limited to time. I'm going to unshare and I'm going to turn it over to Mariah, who's going to talk about the Youth Climate Leaders Academy.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. Yeah, so my name is Mariah Kagi, and I work with Vermont Energy Education Program. And I'm just going to start my screen share. And basically we have a couple different ways that we support energy and climate projects. And so I'm going to give you sort of a in-depth on one of them, and then just sort of briefly share some of the other things that we can do if you want to get involved with energy and climate. And yeah, I'll just take it from here. Let's see if I have it. Okay. So you'll notice that obviously there's some overlaps with the things that we do, that these are the sustainable development goals that we kind of reside in with a lot of the work that we do at VEEP. And just, here we go. So this is just a tad bit about who we are and what we do. You notice that sustainability is really what we're aiming for with all of our work, and so we go about that in different ways. And one of them is through supporting action projects. And so Youth Climate Leaders Academy is one of our programs that we do that directly. This is our 3rd year running, and the intention of it is that, or what we do is we work with high school students who want to make a difference on climate change and have an idea for a project, and we support them in doing that. And so it's a year-long program and starts out with a kickoff retreat. And so this is the end of our kickoff retreat this last year. And we have that at the Hulbert Outdoor Center. And basically what this whole, so it's a year-long thing, but like I said, it starts out with a kickoff retreat. And it's 2 days. We have about 70 students from a bunch of different schools from Vermont and New Hampshire. And we do, the intention behind this is to really get people started off on their projects. So you come with some sort of idea with your group, and that's the beginning. And then in these 2 days, we have skills workshops, like building a climate justice campaign. I have a list that I'm reading off here because I can never remember all of them. Workshops like graphic design, political action, fundraising, using data for your project, marketing, event organizing, advocacy. And so the idea is that there's no reason why you, as a high school student or maybe soon to be high school student, would necessarily have some of these skills already that are really helpful for having a successful project. And so the idea is that we have professionals who come in and they share these skills. We also do have some students who have these skills also that they've honed through different things. And so this last year we had a couple of students who did projects around one. Hope Petrero did one on event organizing. And I think she's worked with Lindsay before. Yeah, and just so basically that whole idea of like there are people in the world who have skills to share, and so if as they work in with projects, you have a choice to go to whatever workshops might fit in best with your project. Ben Freeman, who's on this, usually joins us and does a workshop as well. I think he did one on project management this last year. And so we have skills workshops. We also have professional consultants who come in. So there's skills that we need in order to do our projects that we'll start to develop with these skills workshops. And then there's the actual sort of the guts of what your project is about. And so we bring in professional consultants who work in the field of whatever the project is that you're working on. So for instance, we have an energy engineer, or we also have a solar panel installer who can join us if you want to install solar, or we have transportation experts who come in and they can talk about different initiatives and help you vet and sort of come work through your projects to figure out, okay, well, what do we really need to think about? And so they are available. And then there's a bunch of group work and planning time, because as we all know, that is something that we never have enough of. And especially in a school day that has such small sections of time. And so the retreat is really awesome for that. And then really making connections between teams. And so because, for instance, there could be a school that worked on a composting project last year and you want to embark on one this year. And so there's all this cross-pollination between schools too, in terms of similarities of what people are working on. And so just sort of some photos. We had over on the upper left-hand side, these were our MCs this year, Masters of Ceremony for the 2 days, and then a bunch of project work going on. I have a video that I think I'm going to save, actually. Well, we'll see if the first part goes. It just has some slides, and I think maybe I'll save the interviews because the sound is not that good on it, and so I don't know if you'll be able to hear it from my computer. But so this sort of shares a bunch of the stuff that I had just mentioned. Give you some more visuals. These are our teams from this last year. Rivendell, oh, it's going fast. Harwood, Woodstock. So I'll share this afterwards since it looks like I should have slowed it down anyhow, but we're short on time, so so that's one way to solve the problem.
If Mariah, on our end, it's actually going really slow. So
okay. So so I'll share that the next part of it. So in case, I don't know what the timing was like. I don't have good luck with videos on things like this. There's always something that doesn't work for me. But in the last minute or so is an interview with a student right towards the end of the Climate Leaders Academy, or the retreat, just talking about sort of her experience and what their project is that they're working on. It's a transportation project. So if you want to get started in Leaders Academy, basically what you do is you decide that you want to be involved, and then come up with a team. The team could be one other person and yourself, or it could be a group of up to 8, 9, 10 people. Oftentimes when it's a team that size, people tend to break up into different projects, just because they tend to have different interests, and sort of works better in terms of functionality anyhow. And yeah, and then come up with a climate project that you want to work on. It can be statewide, it can be something in your community, in your school, and then sign up for YCLA, come to the retreat, and then we keep on going. So in terms of areas of sort of the areas of climate projects that happen, these are some of the major ones, but we're open to anything that's going to make a difference on climate. This is sort of what comes out of it. And if anybody has a tough time trying to figure out some ideas of projects, we help out with that beforehand with some information that we share. And I'm just going to share some project slides that schools have come up with ideas of what their projects are. So when they come, they introduce themselves, and they're basically, like, I talk about it as like it's their baby project ideas. So they aren't necessarily started or really worked through, but it's like there's this little idea that's actually a really big idea, and then we take it from there. And so these are the initial ideas before anything's been worked on yet from this last year. Got Memorial Union. I'm not going to read through all of them. I'm just going to give everybody a couple seconds on each. So Montclair High School and their food forest. Rivendell wanting to work on solar and reducing waste. Walden Project, they went sort of broad because they hadn't really honed it in, and so this is a great place to go. And then we spent the time honing in and figuring out, okay, well, what did they really want to embark on? And they landed on a transportation project, trying to figure out how to get students to carpool more. And I just heard an email or saw an email from them because they're shifting, trying to figure out how we make this all virtual, now that the world is shifting at this moment. So we're all working together to try to figure out how to make this all happen. And this became an online project that Erica and I were just talking about the other day, that she is creating a blog now to help people have more zero waste during the quarantine. This is an awesome project in southern Vermont. Really, a lot of the ideas, people oftentimes their first year coming to YCLA will start out with a smaller project and then really recognize what level of change they can make, and then go for statewide or larger community planning projects. And the Vermont Youth Lobby, if anyone is not familiar, you should absolutely check it out. But they usually have a team or two that join us during YCLA because they find it to be really great planning time for them. And so, yeah, so they, like I said, usually a couple different groups from there. And so after the retreat, people go off back to their lives, but keeping all of this project planning done. So usually people have goals set, action plans, that kind of stuff, as well as consultants and community partners as they leave the door after our 2 days together. And then we do regular check-ins and connect between schools, as well as continue to consult with professionals as need be, grant writing support, planning support, and then we get back together again. This last year was supposed to be in March, and we are planning the wrap up right now.
That's great.
And so the other thing that we do that is just really brief, if anybody wants to get involved in energy and climate projects, we are available for consultation. And so this can look like anything. I know that Lindsay and I worked together on something along these lines years ago. And basically, if you have some idea of something that you want to do, it doesn't have to be part of a program. You don't have to be part of Youth Climate Leaders Academy. It can be part of a class. It can be part of a green team. It can be part of anything. But if you want to do an energy project, we are your people. And that goes for right now as well. So
Great, thank you, Mariah. Again, we're going to ask that you hold questions until the end. We're going to switch off the screens and we're going to present the final program, and then we'll open it up to questions. So if you can unshare, Mariah, and then Allison, if you can unmute Indira for me. And I don't see that Sylvia has joined us, so it may just be us. So I am back. I have another program that I run called the Teens Reaching Youth for the Environment. And I have one of our teen teachers with us today, Indira Bush, who is gonna talk about her experience after I tell you a little bit about the program. This program it's really a cool model where we engage teens to develop both leadership and life skills and use teens as teachers to teach younger students. So it's this really cool way to get involved in environmental change because you're doing the environmental education. You're helping to create environmental literacy of our youngest citizens, as well as building up your own environmental literacy to then take that information throughout your life. And I will say, I know Lindsay talked about how you can do TRI as your Cultivating Pathways to Sustainability project. And I know back when Lindsay was a teacher, she was a TRI mentor to several TRI teams. I know Irene is on the line today who has been involved in TRI. And what's really cool about this program is we have 5 different program areas that you can teach in. We do energy fundamentals, which, to give a plug to Mariah, we partner with her organization, the Vermont Energy Education Program. We work together. Every program we have a partner who their work is that area's, the topic area is their mission. So for energy, we partner with the Vermont Energy Education Program. For waste solutions, we partner with a solid waste district. For food systems, we keep that internal to UVM Extension, who I work with, because we have a youth agriculture program and UVM Extension does so much with food systems. With our forest and trees, we partner with our community forestry program. And with our water program, we partner with the Lake Champlain Sea Grant. So it's really a neat program where we take the expertise of 4-H, who I work with. We know how to work with young people, especially like I'm a leadership specialist. So everything I do really focuses around leadership development. We partner with organizations who their mission, their work is around this environmental topic. Then we train teens to teach lessons to younger students. And it's just this really cool win-win. And what we like to see is what it really does is by training teens to do the teaching, it gives you this really meaningful leadership experience. But what it does, it helps in the real world effort of environmental outreach because we're using teen teachers as volunteers to go out and do this real work of environmental education of younger school kids. So love it. And what I'm gonna share right now is we built this program where we started one program at a time. So you can see the years. We've been doing this program. We're in our 7th year of the program. Unfortunately, this year, most of my tri-teen teachers were either one lesson shy of finishing up in a classroom or had just started. So they unfortunately had to leave their students. So Indira, do you want to talk about how you get involved in the program and why you got involved in the program?
Sure. So we got involved, me and my team. I think our teacher mentioned it to us, but I also heard about it. I went to the Youth Environmental Summit last year, and you talked about it there, so I kind of knew about it. And we decided to get involved because it just sounded really cool, and all of us were really interested in the topics and really interested in teaching the kids, which sounded really fun, like a really fun way to get involved with the community and just the topics we were interested in. And so we got involved. And should I go on about the training or?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So you go to a one-day training and you get to like do all the lessons that you would teach to your kids. And through that, the instructors kind of give you like tips and like, oh, you could do this here or try this here, and you sort of learn how to teach each lesson because it's a individual lesson plan. Like you don't have to make anything up. It's just a lesson plan for each day. And so we learned all those really well, and we learned like how we were doing it and like how we would set it up and everything we need to know to be able to teach. And we set up, we went back after the training and we thought about what teachers and what grades we would like to teach with. And I did the waste solutions program, and I think we were we could teach in grades 1 through 3, and we chose to teach in first grade. And so we got in contact with the first grade teachers at our elementary school, and we were able to have a meeting with them to sort of discuss what TRI was and what it was going to look like. And they agreed to welcome us into their classroom. And we started scheduling. And there's lots of different ways you could do that, but we were able to figure out a way that worked for the teachers and us. And so you do have to miss like a class every day. Not every day, but like the days you're teaching. So there's 6 lessons and they're about an hour long. And so then you go in on those dates and you teach those lessons, the 6 lessons. Should I keep going or should I stop?
No, keep going. So what was I'm going to ask you a question. What was your favorite thing about once you started teaching?
Once I started teaching, I think just meeting the kids and like trying out all the plans in the real classroom, and we were able to like get to know the kids really well, and that was really great because even though I think we reached our 4th lesson before we had to leave school, but we were able to like get such a great connection with them, and that was really fun. And also my team wasn't all my closest friends, and we got a lot closer through TRI, so that was really great. And so we got closer with the kids and with those people. And I think not everything goes right the first time you do the lesson, so that was really fun, and to sort of learn from that and keep going, since you have to teach each lesson twice to 2 different classes, so you're able to like build off of the first lesson, so that was really fun.
Yeah. So Indira, we're actually almost out of time, and I want to mention, so one of the points on this slide says there's observations, and what that means is either myself or one of the other trainers will actually go and observe one lesson that every team teaches. And I got to go see Indira's team teach, and I would have never guessed that you guys weren't like the closest of friends, because you guys were amazing in the classroom. And I think I went to lesson 3 that they taught, and already by their 3rd lesson, the kids in their classroom not only thought of them as their teachers, but you could tell how excited they were to have them come teach. And so it was really fun for me. My favorite part of my job is actually when I get to go do the TRI observations. So it's really, really fun. I will say I also have videos where you can kind of get a glimpse of what TRI looks like in the classroom, and I'm going to share those links out. And before we run out of time and open it up to questions, I would be remiss if I didn't say this. We have a program called the 4-H Trail Stewards. We're changing things up this year because of COVID-19, and we're gonna have a teen time on this particular program on June 2nd, where we're gonna train you virtually to do some trail work. And then we're gonna have you go out on your own and do some trail work. And that's a partnership with Department of Forest Parks and Rec. So you actually could do some environmental change this year because the trails really need some work right now. So just know that that information is going to be coming out soon. We do another program called the Natural Resource Management Academy. This is a weekend program at a camp in partnership with Fish and Wildlife. We bring in natural resource experts to teach you different topics. We, fingers crossed, are going to be able to do this in person. So the registration is currently open, but I can't guarantee that's going to happen. But this is a really cool opportunity for you as well. So with that, I will share all of our contact information, all of our videos for you all to watch when we're done. But we're going to open things up to questions right now. So start typing away in the chat box if you have a question about any of these programs. And I encourage you to direct some of your questions to our teens that presented today. How old do you need to be in this program? And is the program all day? Emily, you're gonna have to be specific. Which particular program are you asking about? Because they're all
Lauren,
a little different.
that question was originally asked during Mariah's presentation, and I asked Emily to hold it to the end.
Okay, so Mariah, you.
Yeah, so for Youth Climate Leaders Academy, that's a high school program, but we support projects for any age students. But the actual sort of that whole retreat thing, that's for high school students right now.
Does anyone else have, or you raise your hand too if you want to ask verbally and not write it. Looking at my location, how would you recommend tapping into these and other programs? So in Maryland, I would reach out. Well, Lindsay, you used to live there. So these programs are very unique to Vermont. I would, one, encourage you, if they don't exist in Maryland, to get them started. Figure out which one you like the best and you make it happen. But Lindsay, you might know some organizations down there.
Well, it's been about 20 plus years or 25 years since I've lived there. So, but what I would say is again, the 4-H programs would be one place to tap into. Also, the resource that Jen and I shared is very much can be translated to any environment. It's not just specific to Vermont at all. So if you're interested in diving into the sustainable development goals and looking at it from a project-based, community-based approach, that resource that Lauren will share after, you could use that as a guide, and that will really lead you through.
Yeah. So Tamara is asking, since I will be a college level student this coming fall, am I still applicable for the programs mentioned here? I will say for my program, we actually every year usually have a few college students who present. So for the Youth Environmental Summit, you could come as a presenter for sure. For the Try for the Environment program, if you're in state, you could potentially be every Try team, and we didn't really clarify that. So Indira was part of a team. When you apply as a team of 2 to 4 teens, and you have an adult mentor. So college students could be the adult mentor to a team. And I'll let the other programs respond.
Lindsay, do you want me to say, the regional centers of expertise, both in this country and in other countries, depending on where you're going to go to school, are often looking for youth engagement. So there's programs in Atlanta and Texas. So to more just thinking about where you might be going to school or where you might be working after you graduate from high school, there's a lot of international and national connections with the Sustainable Development Goals and really similar programs to at least what Lindsay and I have been up to. But that would be a perfect connection is with those groups. So you could reach out to me or Lindsay and we can hook you up with other college students.
Yeah. Mariah, anything? Oh, you're muted, Mariah. I'll unmute you.
There we go. Okay.
There you go.
My mouse doesn't work so well lately.
Okay.
So we've had some graduate students do workshops, and I don't think that we have really had requests yet for college students to join. And so I think, as we do with most stuff, case by case basis. I mean, if you're interested, let us know, and we can either work it out or figure out something that might be similar.
And Mariah, the next one is for you. I'm a current 8th grade student, so that means 9th grade in the fall. So will I be eligible for the next YCLA?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Love to have you.
And let's see. If we want to do any of the programs, should we sign up online? No, all of these programs are not virtual programs. They're not how we're doing things right now. These tend to be start off in the fall. I know Cultivating Pathways to Sustainability, you guys are usually early October. And then Youth Environmental Summit, as I said, is October 30th this year. Mariah, yours is usually middle November.
Mid-November to early December.
And then the TRI program, you have to apply early November, and then the trainings happen in December. So these programs run very different. And Emily, if I am correct, you do not live in Vermont or go to a Vermont school. So I don't think any of these programs are programs you can participate in, unless Mariah, are you guys doing New Hampshire?
We're open to New Hampshire. Yeah. So we're New Hampshire and Vermont.
And I think, if I'm right, Jen, we've had teams from New Hampshire as well.
And New York.
Yeah, and New York. So it's definitely.
So they would have to talk to they would have to get a teacher, right?
Yeah, some adult in the school that they're connected with. Yeah.
So that's going to be your best bet, is bring these programs to a teacher that you know might be interested in environmental programs, and then they can kind of spearhead it through the school. Next question. For YCLA, do you have to sign up with a group and participate together?
So it doesn't have to be an organized group, but the idea is that it's usually better to at least have one other person to help share the workload. Just because these projects are, these are big projects, and so trying to embark on it alone is pretty tough. And so it doesn't have to be part of any organized group or anything. It doesn't have to be like a green team or a class or anything like that, but really you want at least one other person to be part of your team. We did have one person who was solo this last year, and she definitely wished that she had a team. But she was doing it as an independent study, because we also do dual enrollment if you want to turn it into a college class if you're a junior or a senior. So that's what we were doing together.
So we have a question. If we want to present at the Youth Environmental Summit, do we need to have a proposal when we sign up, or can we figure it out over the course of the summer? Great question, Veronica. So right now, and I'm going to share this in an email, the email that I send you, there is a Survey Monkey to submit your proposal ideas now. So the registration is separate from doing the workshop proposal. The registration comes after I already know all of what the workshops are going to be. So the best way to think about, like, if you know your topic, you could put your proposal in, have your workshop topic title, and have the whole summer to actually work out your actual workshop. But I would need to know, what you're that broad topic you're presenting on. And we could talk separately too if you want some more information. But I would encourage you to put a proposal in, because I know that the youth presentations are very well received and everybody likes to hear. And Ellie, I don't know if Ellie, you want to say anything, but I know the teen presentations are always get a lot of interest and people get really excited about them. Ellie, I'll unmute you. There you go.
I think it is refreshing and also a little less intimidating when you're talking to someone who's probably closer in age to you, and it's more of a conversation than I guess a presentation sometimes, when it's from someone who's just closer to you and has maybe more similar ideas, all different, but it's just a little bit less intimidating and easier to feels easier to share your own ideas.
Great. And thank you, Ellie. I know you need to leave, so thank you. Any other questions before we wrap up today? I'm going to launch just a quick poll if you guys would just give us some feedback. If you see the poll, please take it. If not, write in the chat box. We just want to know if you learned anything today to help you get involved with environmental change. So either I didn't learn anything, I learned one new thing, I learned a few new things, I learned some new things, or I learned a lot. Just your feedback would be very helpful. We really appreciate you all joining us. Again, we'll send an email out with the video links, email links, the link to submit a workshop proposal for the Youth Environmental Summit. I really hope some of you will do that. Again, Veronica, please reach out to me if you want to keep talking. But we really are so happy that you all joined us today. And we hope that all of you are now inspired to get involved in one of these programs and do some good work to help protect our environment and make a difference in our world. So when you guys are all ready to go, all you have to do is click the end meeting. I will say, for those of you that are still with us, just give me 1 second. I just want to remind you that if you want to come next week, we're going to have a really good session on how to advocate for yourself. But I know with those of you who are interested in environmental issues and other issues, come join us on the 19th with the Lieutenant Governor. Talk about what are the issues with the environment that you want to take action on. Tell him, let him know what policies matter to you. Tell him what your concerns are. We're looking for people who are willing to step up and speak that day. All of this information is on the website listed below. And then you can reach out to me if you want to be one of the speakers on the 19th. But hopefully we'll see you back at another Teen Time. So thank you all again for joining us today and hope to see you again soon.